the last thing here that I wanted to speak on, there's a lot of controversy going on with LeBron James right now because he opted into $52.6 million for 1 year for this next season coming up. And there's conflicting sides. There's sides that they don't like the fact that he did that because it closes the cap space for the Lakers for them to try to get some free agents, or even try to trade do some sign-in trades, or just even doing some regular trades because the money's not there. And then the other side of it, that they're happy that he's getting his money. He's gonna make bank in this 1 year, the 52 million, 53 if we really round it all in 1 year and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get your output on this.
Yeah, I'm never going to be upset when somebody's taking the money. This is their job, it's their career, it's what they're supposed to do. I guess the only annoyance with the LeBron thing is that he is typically vocal about the rosters and things like that of his team and wanting more, wanting more. But his contracts, when he takes these 1 2 year deals and with a second year option and opts out and then reconstructs and takes big money, kills the cap each year. So, not knocking him for taking money, never will. But it is going to put limitations on what you can get. That's why, when they put together some of those teams, they were working with all veteran minimums, stuff like that. But at the same time, you know, it's not like he's playing 15 more years, right? Stack up your money, get in, get out. You're going to have money regardless. So I get it. You also have rings already. So it's not as if you have to win again. But I know there's that Jordan comparison. So maybe he feels that pressure. But as far as the Lakers go in particular, I know there's a lot of rumors about, well, is he going to get moved? Are the Lakers going to try to dump some cap space there, build around Luka? Is LeBron going back to Cleveland? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Like at the moment, though you hear about it more and more each day, it makes it feel like maybe, maybe, maybe. At the end of the day, I still think he ends up in LA. He stays there, and they try to find some way to build a little more. I'm not saying they add Dame, but there are guys out there that you can add in right now that other teams are looking to dump out, like the Miles Turner thing that came out of left field, right? Even though, yes, like you said, we've heard about him being traded 100,000 times, but that seems to be gone now that it's made it to the finals. But it wasn't. There are some other teams that have valuable players that teams would like to dump off and get rid of, and you can do a swap, not for LeBron, but in a situation where you can get a third team involved and build that roster up a little bit. It's not like I know they didn't seem like they were going a long way because Luka, they say he's out of shape and whatever, but I just think that Minnesota team in the first round was a bad matchup, and had it not been Minnesota, they could have gotten to maybe even the Western Conference Finals if they got the right matchups. And I felt the same way about a lot of those teams, even OKC. Had they got to certain matchups early, they could have been bounced, and we would have never had this whole thing overall. So the West is very balanced in a certain way, and it really is a luck of the draw on who you get and how that matches up. I don't think the Lakers are in as bad a situation as they make them out to be. If you're LeBron, get your money, do what you do, whatever business move you make. You've taken pay cuts before, so if you want to make your money the past 5 years just on these deals, fine.
Yeah. When it comes to him opting in, I'm always gonna say get your money, man, for sure. Like, you're never gonna hear me say like, "Yo, like a player should have taken a pay cut for this and that, whatever." No, like, sometimes the team's got to make it work the way they make it work, and sometimes the players got to look out for themselves. If it was me at this point, let's say 20, what it's gonna be his 22nd season, right? His 22nd season, 40 years old. He's going to turn 41 in the middle of the season. You got to make a decision on what you really want to do. Or do you really want to win, or do you just want to get paid and stack up this money? You're a billionaire, yes, but that doesn't mean anything. For the people that say, "Oh, he's already a billionaire. Why is he going to take that so much money and this and that?" No, there's a reason why he is a billionaire, because the rich stay rich. If you guys don't know that means that you're not rich. Like, that's what it is. But you got to make a decision on what you really want to do, right? So I feel like he's made the decision on, like, you know what? I felt like I've taken my type of pay cuts. There's always an opinion on what a pay cut really is, on how much money you really do take as a pay cut, and this and that, right? But we're talking about what, in my opinion, we're talking about when a pay cut happens is that if you're a player that can sign an extension every single time it comes around, but you don't and you take less money, that is a pay cut. I mean, I feel like we can agree on. So I feel like he's done it like two, maybe three. but two different times that he's signing for a contract with the team. And he's done it with the Lakers before, and they haven't really shown for it. They haven't really gotten the players for him that really need to move the needle, right? They have gotten good players for him. Not saying that they haven't done that, but the players that need to be put in the system to actually move the needle when it comes to defense, when it comes to hitting consistent jump shots, when he's passing it out and we're missing easy 3 pointers, missing easy mid ranges and stuff like that, right? So in his mind, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take all this money, right? And I'm gonna opt into it. And then if they really want to broaden the horizons, we'll say, for the Los Angeles Lakers, and they want to trade me out, cool. I'll fucking get traded out, whatever it is, what it is. But if not, I'm opting into this contract because I want to stay here with the Lakers. And you guys have shown me that you can't bring me players that are gonna help get us to where we want. Then you know what? It is what it is. I'm taking this money. You guys got to do what you got to do on your end. Obviously, there's a lot of conflicting stuff on how people feel, and they got their own opinions and stuff like that. But I just feel like that's what's going on. I could be wrong, but that's just how I'm seeing it from the outside.
Yeah, because if you look on the other side of it, right? Let's say the money thing's the problem. The issue is not necessarily just the money; it's of how LeBron's pursued his career, right? He once he decided to go to Miami, he was in ring chase mode, and I get it, a lot of pressure to live up to that name and all those kind of things. So from that
Because
point on,
he took a big pay cut there. So did Dwayne Wade. So did
yeah,
Chris Bosh. But
so
they
he
all
can do
took
it.
huge
Right?
pay cuts there.
Yeah. Now, on top of that, now after that, he was in a situation where, he's not old, but he wanted to feel out, okay, well, what are we getting? Right? Like if I keep going with these 5-year deals, whatever, and then stays on a supermax or something like that, I'll get more money long term because I'll be eligible for the overmax pay, right? From whatever team he stays on. But then he has to leverage, does he want to be at that team for all that time if he doesn't feel like they're winning? So he has to keep himself in a situation where he can constantly opt out and move around, but then that limits him in getting bigger money. But then the other side of that is, okay, well, fine. Now you have the freedom to move each year in case you want to go somewhere else. But now your contract annually hits the cap at a bigger mark every single year. So teams don't have the space each season for 1 year that they have you, or 2 years perhaps, to build a team around you. So now the Lakers, of course, new ownership, they crazy money. You own the Dodgers and the Lakers, you have money. So are they willing to stay in the second apron and pay some crazy money to somebody else? I mean, I'm not saying, again, even if we mentioned Damian Lillard, not saying he's a good fit because you have Luka and blah blah. But
Yeah.
and they don't need to put a lot of money into it. But if they really were to go and say, okay, fine, we'll spend crazy, we'll go to whatever the hard cap is for us, which is probably second apron for that team. It's are they willing to do that? Because they have brought in players for LeBron. They just, like you said, they don't have a lot of cap space to bring in super big players. They can only bring in an AD. They can bring in a Luka. They can give you a second superstar, but they don't have the money annually within 1 year or 2 years with those LeBron deals to bring in a third Jaylen Brown type who's a star, but maybe not seen as a number one. Some people, whatever, but it's a tough spot for management and for LeBron because he's on a clock, but it's other teams aren't willing to give up everything the way Cleveland was willing to give up everything at one point to satisfy him because they're like, well, what are we going to do? Give up everything and then you're going to be gone in a year or two, right? It's like the Houston Rockets situation. They're giving up a lot, not too much, which they've played it really well in the middle to get KD, give up their franchise corner piece, which is Jalen Green at the time, even though he's not fully developed. You get KD, so you can argue it, even if it's just a year or two, you know, and they had enough money elsewhere to build around that. If KD had the LeBron contract, it'd be a little tougher. So I hear both sides of it, but again, like you said, I don't care if I have $10 billion or if I have $100. It's nobody's turning down 20 million bucks just to try to win. It's just if he's going to complain about not getting players while not turning down the money, then that's the conflict. But overall, I have no problem with him doing whatever he wants to do.
Yeah. So just on that last thing that you said about when, because like I had mentioned, yes, they have brought in players. I'm gonna speak specifically just on the Lakers. They have brought in players for LeBron to do work with, you know, but and you tell me how you feel about this, but in my opinion, most of them have been mediocre players.
Sure, yeah, but I
Yeah.
feel like that's due to the fact that you bring in a second star under
Mhm.
its another standard contract
Which
for
was
5 years or something
Anthony
like that.
Davis. Anthony Davis in
Anthony
this.
Davis,
Uh-huh.
and then obviously now Luca, right? These guys have normal, standard, longer contracts, and then you
Yeah.
got LeBron taking smaller length 10-year deals, but with bigger cap hits. So now you kind of don't have too much space. You can't afford to bring in another big player until LeBron's contract extension, and but then he signs for another 1 year, 2 year. So it's like, who are you going to bring? Right? Like it becomes kind of like uh, the Lakers when they first did the AD trade, where it's like, well, they have three players on their contract, they're not going to have anybody else. But it's like, well, they're going to have to sign some veteran minimums, better minimum, better minimum, better minimum. But as you get higher up now with all these new rules and the aprons and stuff like that, you're limited to how much you can spend on that in that little realm. Like you can't just spend like crazy veteran minimums like you could if you were under the cap. So it's weird timing with the negotiation. And not Jalen. Draymond Green mentioned that talking about the negotiations with the player, or the CBA and stuff like that, how the players are getting cheated again because as the money goes up in the league, the percentage share goes down for the players. Even though yes, you do see bigger contracts for the better players, um, some of those smaller guys are kind of getting screwed out and stuff like that. But it creates these caps and these aprons create spots like this where you have one long contract and somebody under a short-term deal, you can't afford to build the rest of your team. Um, unless you're willing to go into super luxury tax, which none of these owners seem to do or want to do. Celtics just got sold. They don't want to do it. They're getting out of it. Lakers, I don't know what they're going to do because they're just got sold. So we'll see if they're willing to spend.
Okay, so to me, it makes more sense now of listening to what you just said. So it initially goes back to the first thing I said when we first started talking about this. It's either you choose that you want to win, or you choose that you want the money. And in
Yeah,
this case, is just showing to us that Braun wants the money, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. I feel like like
no,
people should just be like, "Yo, you know what? He wants to get paid. He's 40 years old. Yes, he's a billionaire, but he wants to make more money for his kids, or for his kids, or his cousins, or his other family members, or his other friends, or whoever the hell. Maybe he wants to start up a whole other charity and put all that money into the charity. Who knows? It's his
yeah,
money though. At the end of the day, we can't be getting upset because he wants to opt into a 1 year deal, $52.6 million, when a lot of people out there, and yes, if you're watching this, I'm speaking to you, a lot of people out there will choose to opt into this contract.
yeah,
Let's be
for
real.
sure. For sure. Drew Holiday just said, or he didn't say, but all the rumors are saying that he's pissed about the trade to Portland. He's not happy about going there. Blah 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 blah. He has the option. He can take the money that he is not going to get anywhere else at this point in his career and opt in and stick around in the Portland situation next year, or he can opt out and take way less money to play for a contender. So we're going to see if that guy takes the option. A guy who vocally said he's upset and doesn't want to be there, and a team that has no chance to win a title anytime soon, is like, okay, see, that's the point. Like, yeah, you're going to get on LeBron, you're going to, because he's the big name and so on and so forth and whatever. But if Drew Holiday opts in, are we going to complain? Because he literally just complained about not wanting to be there, and he knows he's not getting that kind of money anywhere else. So is he going to take the big money like we all would, or is he going to opt out and try to be a winner? I don't know, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't blame him for taking the money.
Yep. And another thing I just thought about right now, he's going to opt in this year. He's going to take all that money. Next year, he's going to be a free agent. And next year's free agency is insane. The free
Yeah,
agency pool for next year is insane. So, what if he's like, you know what? I'm going to stay here. I'm going to chill. I'm going to vibe. I'm going to try to win because I feel like he's always trying to win. I'm going to
yeah,
try to
yeah,
win. I'm going to try to win. I'm going to get all this money next year. I'm going to talk to some of the fellas around the league and be like, yo, what's good? Where are we going? Because he's done it
yeah,
before. He's done it before.
yeah.
So who
And the
says he
league's
won't do it
super
again?
balanced. Yeah, the league's super balanced. It won't take like it was, 5 years ago, where you need to get two, three guys with you. Like
Mhm.
you have LeBron. I mean, obviously a year later or whatever. Let's just forget that. It stays what he is. if you had LeBron right now to Detroit, you never know. You had LeBron right now to the Clippers, you never know. Like to any of these teams where if he decided a year from now to go, all right, I'll take a little less. Like suddenly he's the guy on a team that will be a true contender immediately. And
Yep.
there's nothing, the Knicks. I know the Knicks
Mhm.
went, to the Eastern Finals, but still, New Yorkers are tough. They're still kind of like, oh, typical Knicks. And it's like, man, you guys weren't even considered to go there. I mean, I thought they would go pretty far, but overall, like, most Knicks fans are just happy to be in the conversation. Like, imagine if LeBron's just like, yeah, I'll go there and takes them over the hump, you know?
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, I like to play in Madison Square Garden. Why not? Why not for a year or
Yeah.
two? Why not?"
Yeah, the legacy there to be the guy who brought the Knicks to the championship, like, and won it, like, that's
It's crazy.
that's
Crazy.
like winning for the Cubs. Yeah.